Hey everybody, it's John here with National Sports Entertainment, and I just wanted to, of course, recap the games today, the Mets and the football games, as well as go into what games are going to be like in tomorrow and Sunday, of course. Also, I do notice, and I should have brought this up before, I know we have a lot of new people checking out the channel for the first time, so I do go over my R.I.G system, and I'll explain why I call it the R.I.G system. But I go over that every as often as I can, and I don't want to bore people that have heard about it multiple times, by repeating it perpetually. But I do want to bring it up when I can for people that are new, so they understand why, at least in my case, I'm able to make my bankroll grow, even on rough days like this. So we will go into that and just some past bets, but we're going to go into some of the ones we made. So, as I had said in my last video, it's very odd for a team like Colorado State or any team. It doesn't happen to start a year or to finish a year without a win or loss against the spread. It just doesn't happen. That's why you'll see Colorado State is 1-4 here now. So that's why I did like Colorado State plus 3.5. I had bet the Rays earlier. That one didn't go through. That one didn't work out. So that was the double up was Colorado State University. Now, the pick that I felt more comfortable with, and the reason for that being, I've seen both teams play, and rigged or not rigged, I just couldn't imagine Colorado State winning a game without being a bunch of points scored, just because of the way they play defense and the way they're portrayed. They're the fake tackles, whatever. So they did start 0-5 on the over, but that's what I like about this metric. The odds of them starting 0-5 on both would have been very, very minute, and not that it can't happen, but it helps us going forward. As you can see, we only have 3 teams left that have not covered the against the spread, and likewise, we only have, it looks like, 6 that haven't covered the over record. They only hit unders all year. Which brings me to one of my picks, which is going to be Georgia. And I'll get to Georgia in a second, but I just wanted to show you the sequence for the people who haven't seen. So we lost the Rays. That was a $35 loss. We were able to, or it was actually to win 35. It was about $25 because I did the line and a half. But it was about to win 35. We weren't able to. So on the second bet, you can see I liked the Colorado State plus 3.5, and we bet $70 to win a net of 35. So we won one, we lost one, but we netted. Now, this is another one that I like these metrics. They're already showing the ALDS and the NLDS, and they're showing pictures of the Dodgers, Braves, Cardinals, and Mets. And now that doesn't mean the Mets are guaranteed to get there. But I don't think, and that's why I took and I recommended the Mets earlier. And I explained my reasoning for that. I was simply going to double down to today, technically, tomorrow, whatever time you're on the Mets. So, of course, betting straight up, you're not going to get the same odds. But I have full confidence the Mets don't get swept at home when I believe that they're trying to set up a Subway kind of series, or at least that appeal. Yes, the Padres sweeping the Mets would be interesting. And again, in which case, I would just, on my third leg, I'd bet the Dodgers or whoever's playing the Padres. Because, again, the Padres running through the NL is just so improbable. So we can use these metrics. And that's what I love about this system. I got it from a random internet guy, R.I.G, R.I.G. And he used it specifically for baseball. It works very well for baseball because knowing these metrics helps. So then we have Nebraska, and we already picked Green Bay. I'm going to go into that. Nebraska did not come through, and that's why I will save a lot of these first legs for the college games we're not too sure of. That's why the other night we went with Indianapolis on our first leg. It's not one that I feel comfortable with on a double up. So this system, it's important that we make sure we're always making the correct choices. So if you played Nebraska and lost, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing -9 on the Packers. And I'm doing the same thing if we lost the over on Colorado State. We're going on the Volunteers -3. So now let me get into the games. The reason I like Georgia, again, 0-5 against the spread. So then we go into ESPN and we see that this story being told. And we see a high over-under despite the fact that Georgia has not hit it over all year, and Auburn has hit it twice out of 5 times. Both of these teams have not scored a lot of points compared to others. To me, this looks like a trap where a lot of people are going to like the under here. But I also see, and this to me is very revealing when you see these type of things. When you see, besides the metrics, the narrative come down a little bit, and the rushing yards allowed. For example, Georgia only allows 90. That's a high indicator Auburn's going to be passing the ball a lot. And you will see 2 types of college games. You will just see the run option and the clock drains, or these fast-paced games that I wouldn't be surprised you have a score of something like 17-7 early in the game. So I really like the over here for mostly the reason Georgia has not hit one all year. And most public money will probably be on, in my opinion, the under in this game. So that being said, this Georgia game is going to be a first sequence because we already have our second sequences lined up. We have Tennessee lined up, we have Green Bay lined up, and we have the Mets lined up. So going into our bets, you'll see that I already picked Green Bay because I wanted to get favorable lines. So I just did a regular first sequence bet. And I'm going to have to add to that now because, as you can see, I'm betting to win 25, but we lost Nebraska. So now we need to win we had to bet about 52 because we need to win our 25 back plus an additional 25 so we can net like all these prior ones where we net despite maybe losing 1 or 2 in the sequence. So since I only have the one bet on Green Bay, I am going to add a second bet so we can bring our total profit from this sequence to $25. And I am sorry if you've seen this before. I'm going to go more into other games. I just wanted to get this off the bat because I do know that there's a good bit of people that it's going to be about 25. There we go. It's $27.50 because on the first bet, the juice is like $2.50. So make sure you always get your juice back too. So here we'll be winning exactly 52, which will be a $25 net, and it's the Packers -9. So that's our double. That's our second bet of that sequence. And I appreciate the people that have seen this a million times for bearing with me. As I said, I always like to show what I'm doing live, and I also like to go over my system. That way, I see a lot of people that will take a lot of my picks and they'll hit 4 or 5, miss a parlay, and I just want people to be able to make money, even if it's modest money. Now, the other one that I said I liked was Tennessee, and as you can see, that one again, we did not cover the Colorado State over. So Tennessee, we're going to want to win that $26.50 back plus 25. So it's going to be a $51.50 bet here. And that's tomorrow's game. And I'm going to go into why I like this game right after I pick it. I do like this game. Probably of all the games being played, the early games, I like this one the most. The one thing I didn't love was, even though LSU is at home, I do think that there is a good chance this is a trap. Anybody that has seen Tennessee this year has seen how good Hendon Hooker is. In my opinion, he's the most poised quarterback in the entire league. At least that's how he's presented. So I think the casual bettor is going to see undefeated ranked in 8th versus a 25th ranked team, and they're just going to go with Hooker, and they're just going to think that they're going to win. So this is one of those rare occasions where I could see Tennessee eking out a win, 1 or 2 point win, and I might advise the money line. But I do think when you have to look at over-unders too. When Vegas thinks a disparity is going to be this big, usually indicates the score is not going to be a 3-point spread. Not that it can't happen. We lost Nebraska because we didn't pick the money line. So it's not that it can happen, but I've discussed this with people in the comments. Buying those half points, believe it or not, over time, especially with this system, with all the bets we make, you're losing money. You're losing 5 here, 6 there, 250 there by buying all these points versus just playing the spreads. So I do like Hendon Hooker. I do like him to cover the spread here. I think, and the biggest reason I like him, besides that, again, I think he's the most NFL poised and ready. This guy is the poster child for the NFL. They like intelligent quarterbacks who can play a system, who can play up or down pace, who don't make mistakes, who can get along with their teammates, who can give a good press conference, who are intelligent. This guy has everything that the NFL has ever wanted. He has a great arm and he can run, but he is very intelligent, knowing when to run and when not to. So in a rigged league like the NFL, that's why they like these guys like Alex Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's why they love Brady. That's why they love Mahomes now. There are certain players that are very intelligent. Hendon Hooker is a very intelligent player. So and you can see that whether you're watching it from the scope of someone who thinks it's rigged or not. So with that being said, I really do like Tennessee here. I don't think they don't make Hendon Hooker look great. And then from the other narrative, they have to push somebody besides Bryce Young for the Heisman. And yeah, they're trying to push the Ohio State quarterback, and they're trying to push a few other players. But you want at least, I would say, a handful of players. So here's our Tennessee wager. And again, this one is hold on. Okay. So this one I'm going to add 25 to, because as if you remember a minute ago, I said it was supposed to be 51.50. So I have to add another 25. I guess I only did a first sequence. I apologize. I do these completely live. I don't edit them afterwards. I just do them. So obviously I'm not perfect. So I just like to make sure you guys see everything I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So what we want here is our Tennessee bet to win the 51.50. So the 25, and that'll do it. And that's what we did with the Packers bet. I do this with a lot of bets. If I have a bet for a first sequence, as I did Green Bay, but then one doesn't come through, like Nebraska didn't come through, then what I'll do is I'll just, again, add an additional $25, an additional unit, and then we're getting our money back. There's other variations. Some people they'll just bet the same amount. It's a little more conservative way of doing it. I personally have found this way to be the most successful. So now if we look at our pending bets, we should have our leg 2 covered for 2 of our outstanding sequences. The one is here we got 26.25 and 26.25, and that's going to be to win 50, of course. Yep, 25 and 25. And then here for the Packers, we did the same thing. I just added this 26 because I had picked them earlier in the week. I think it's this one. And yeah, I picked them earlier in the week at 11:28 a.m. And I picked them for a first sequence. But of course, Nebraska didn't work out. So here is our second sequence for the Green Bay Packers. So that one's going to be to win 50. So both of these are to be determined second 2 sequences. And now we're going to pick the Mets. It's the same deal. I don't see the Mets getting swept at home. Again, it can happen. But my logic is, if it were to happen, I certainly don't see the Padres going ahead and sweeping the next team. And these lines are an indicator too. When you see minus 174, they're just begging you to take that minus 1.5 and probably win by just 1, especially when you're in the bottom of the inning. So as crazy as it seems, I am more than content. We have to win back. I believe it's 36 on this one. We had bet 36. So now we're going to be betting 90. So roughly 90. But we want to win 36 and a new 25 essentially. So we want to win a total of 61. So it'll do the math for us. To win 61, it's going to be a higher wager because it's a money line. But again, I am playing the narratives, the optics, the lines. And I don't think that the Mets here are going to get swept at home when they have this Subway Series potential that to me is just too good to pass up on. So I wanted to officially lock in my picks and show them to you guys, as well as going back to the system just so you can see how I am at least doing my picks. Again, a lot of them might seem like, wow, you get the second bet in and you're betting a lot to win a little. Well, you are. And that can be a crux of the system, but the whole purpose of the system is to optimize your odds, and each week we're going to find narratives and we're going to find teams that haven't covered spreads. For example, now going into next week, I like Colorado State University a lot to hit the over. Teams just don't not ever hit an over or under. It doesn't happen. And of course I don't think we locked in our Georgia sequence yet. Now, I don't like to have too many outstanding sequences at a time. For the simple being, let's just say, just like today, let's just say Mets were to lose and Tennessee lost. Well, now we're in a precarious spot with Green Bay yet to play, and we have to hope that Georgia also comes through. That being said, we've built up our bankroll enough that we do have enough to play this Georgia game. And to me, the over just makes sense. I don't think many people are going to be playing the under in this game. I think most people look at it and say, oh, they haven't hit it over all year. It's probably going to be under. And it's usually the complete opposite. So, and just to show you the trends for those who haven't seen them, this isn't like over the course of a year or two. This is the history of the league. You will not see teams just not hit on the over under. So here we have a 2-9-1 and then a 10-4 on the over. 2020 was a condensed season, so it's a smaller sample size, but still absolutely nobody went winless or undefeated. We can go back. Maybe somebody can do this when they're bored. Go back as far as you can. Now, James Madison had this a bunch of years. They played one game. I don't know why only one counted. But everyone that played a full schedule, of course, the worst you'll see is 2-10. And then when you flip it, 10-2, of course. You're not going to see multiple teams just winning 1 or 2 against the spread or winning none. It just seems to be like a Vegas rule. Look at North Texas. They had to give them that one. So I love this metric, especially as the season goes on, because we will be able to see that, wow, there's X amount of teams and X amount of them have not covered a spread yet, and we know that just doesn't happen. We have shitty teams like Stanford last year, I think it was, 3-9, New Mexico 1-11. But like I said, if you want to go back and just check like as far back as you can, maybe there is a time in the last 20 years, both NFL and college, not just one or the other, that a team has gone winless or undisputed against the spread or an over outside of playing one game. But I can't see it. So that is why I love this metric mixed with the system. We are getting better than 50-50 odds when you combine those things. So when we see, and not to keep going back to it, but when we see on the over-under, there's only a few teams left, and one of them is Georgia, 0-5. Obviously, a team that's 0-5, believe it or not, has a better chance of covering than a team that's 0-4-1. Doesn't mean they're going to. It just means over the course of the season, they can't have this many teams only one against the spread or on the over. So that's why I go to these first, and then I go to see if it's a trap. So I really like Georgia. I feel confident we can make that total bet, and even with the outstanding wagers we have, it'll be fine. And they're just hiding in here somewhere. Here we go. I thought they were earlier. Okay, so since they're a 3:30 game, and I really like this metric, I'm going to do exactly what I did with the other games. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a sequence, so we're going to do the over, and it's going to be to win 25. Now let's say another one of our sequences doesn't go our way. Tennessee, the Mets game. Actually, the Mets game's after this. But Tennessee doesn't go our way. One of the other games doesn't go our way. Then we have Georgia in the holster, who I think to be a great second or third leg to hit that over. So that's why I'm starting them off as a first sequence, simply because we don't know if we're what's going to happen with those other sequences. So I got them in at 49.5. And of course, it's always to win 25. So if we win this, it's $25. And You don't have to use my exact bets. You don't have to use my exact increments. This is just what I have found to be successful. And as I said, I do appreciate the people for bearing with me as I just go over this again. I just like people that might be seeing this for the first time and wondering exactly how I come to my decisions. Now they can see exactly how we've got from 185 to where we're at. And while we don't have a bad record by any means, we've had hot and cold streaks. But the most important thing is understanding when to take specific matchups. So yeah, for the people that have been asking about college, I like Hendon Hooker. I really like Tennessee, especially if you're doing it in a second game. I also like the over here in Georgia. The Kansas game, it's an interesting one. I'm not going to place a bet on it myself. I will say I like Daniels. I honestly think Jaden Daniels is probably the most difficult to guard quarterback in the league. Now, he's had some difficult times when he was pressured, but they're pushing him. They're pushing Jalen. As you can see, he's the first quarterback as far as ranking. So they're going to push him as a junior. I think it makes sense that he has a good game. That being said, him having a good game doesn't mean they win. And I don't like this +7. To me, it seems like a trap where a lot of public money is going to be coming in on Kansas. Not that a lot. Now, maybe a lot of people are going to bet Kansas money line, and they might lose the money line and still win the spread. But I just don't. To me, this one seems like a trap where typically I would like Kansas, but it just seems like a trap. I'll probably stay away from it. But if you were going to pick the game, I would tell you if I had to pick it, I'd go TCU. They both are undefeated against the spread, but I think the +7 is a little too much for Kansas here. And I also think that them starting off 6-0 against the spread, while likely, just not as probable as a team only winning 5 in a row against the spread. So that's why I'm staying away from this game, is because it is a close game. But if you really want to play this game, I would play TCU -7. Seems like a trap, and it'll probably be a real high-scoring game, so I don't think the 7 points will matter either way. If TCU loses, I do think they have a good chance of covering. But if Kansas loses, it's probably not going to be within 7. I will see that happen a lot. So, yeah, if I had a pick, I'd go TCU -7, mostly because this game looks like a trap. And as I always say, thank you all for always having insight. And just, if you see something, you let me know and bringing suggestions up. I really do appreciate it and all the support. Last night didn't go great for us, but I can't reiterate enough the importance of sticking with the system, and it'll keep growing. Right now, obviously, we're at 317, but we have something like, must be like 150 or something, maybe even 200 in outstanding bets. We have, it adds it up, but yeah, we got a good bit in outstanding bets. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 3 outstanding bets, I believe, total. I just had a double on a few of them, like I said. So Auburn's an outstanding bet. Mets is an outstanding bet. Tennessee, we bet twice. That's an outstanding bet. And Green Bay. And the other one I didn't go into, but I did pick. So I'll go into it Sunday. The Bucks game, I really like that game. I'll show you who I'm picking now, because I want you to be able to get good odds on it. And that goes for the Packers too, of course. But the odds might change. So I was able to get in on the Bucks just before. I don't know if they're going to change the line, but a lot of times they do. And it should be right around here. Here we go. Bucks to win 25. I got it at 9.5. I didn't want to go into 10.5 or 10. So I would definitely get that one in. I like the Bucks there. The Bucks and Packers, as I've said in many videos, I think are two of the best covers that we've seen thus far this season. London games are very, very easy to assess what they're trying to do. They're trying to market the league. So, of course, they want their stars to look great, and there's really only one star that is a superstar, that being Aaron Rodgers. So I really like that game. The Bucks 0-2 at home against the spread. Playoff teams do not have bad years at home against the spread, and the Bucks are definitely a playoff team this year. So I know this one was longer than usual. I just wanted to show you all of my picks, show people that might not have seen my system. That way, just say you took a Nebraska loss. Now you know what to do on the next match. This is what I'm doing at least. You could certainly go Tennessee instead, or you can go with whoever you like. Going with the Mets on any second leg, I think, is a very safe bet that's definitely going to hit. And I just chose Green Bay because I do like the value, and I do think they cover by a good bit. So everybody have a good night, happy earnings, and again, if there's a specific NFL game you want me to go into, please let me know. I just wanted to cover as much as the 12 o'clock games tomorrow. I wanted to cover the Mets because I was going to mention the Rays or possibly the Phillies, but the Mets, to me, just when they're showing advertisements already, showing the Mets in there, I just don't think that they're going to have them get swept. They at least want to keep the ratings going a little longer. So we're going to have some first round sweeps. Most of the Rays could get swept. You might even see the Cardinals get swept at home. But the Mets aren't going to be one of those teams. And worst case, if they were, we have games in the holster. And since this was based off of a baseball series, again by random internet guy, I also like it even more when we're using it for baseball. So thank you everybody. And we're going to just keep exploiting the system. If my math is correct, once these outstanding wagers clear, of course, they don't all hit at once, but we should be far north of 600 here. And I would think by next week, we could be approaching a quadruple up, almost near 700-800. So I always say be consistent and patient with the system. It does work. Over time, it does pay out. And just getting scared is the only thing that will prevent people from profiting here. Take care.